Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm refinishing this book, The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment. On my way back from Denver, Colorado. I'm now just in Montana, coming back home. I've been gone now for 6 days, coming back now to Montana. Back home, and now I'm reading chapter 10, The Meaning of Surrender. Surrender to the connection. The acceptance of the now, the meaning of surrender. You mentioned surrender a few times. I don't like that idea. It sounds somewhat fatalistic. If we do always accept the things that we are now, we are not going to make effort to improve them. It seems to be what progress is all about, both in our personal lives and collectivity. It is now to accept the limitations of the present, but to strive and go beyond them and create something better. If we hadn't done this, we would still be living in the caves. How do you reconcile surrender and changing things that we do not think get things done? To some people, surrender may have negative connotations, implying defeat them, giving up, failing to rise, challenges of the life, becoming lethargic, and so on. True surrender, however, is something entirely different. It does not mean passively put up with whatever situations you find yourself in and do nothing about it. Nor it does mean to cease making plans or initiating positive action. Surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to rather than opposing the flow of life. The only place that you have experienced to flow of life is the now. So, to surrender is to accept the present moment unconditionally and without reservation. It is to relinquish inner resistance to do what is. Inner resistance is saying no to what is through mental judgment and emotional negativity. It becomes particularly pronounced when things go wrong, which means that there is a gap between the demands or rigid expectations of your mind and what is it. This is a pain gap. If you have lived long, enough, you would know that things go wrong quite often. It is precisely at those times that surrender needs to be practiced if you want to eliminate pain and sorrow from your life. Acceptance of what? Acceptance of what is immediately frees from the mind identification.
Continue on US 212 West for 3 miles.
And thus reconnects you with being resistance is the mind. Surrender is a purely inner phenomenon. It does not mean that on the outer level you cannot take action and change the situation. In fact, it is not an overall situation that you need to accept when you surrender, but just a tiny segment called the now. For example, if you were stuck in the mud somewhere, you wouldn't say, "Oh, okay, I resign myself to being stuck in the mud." Resignation is not surrender. You do not need to accept the undesirable or unpleasant life situation. Nor do you need to deceive yourself and say, "Oh, there is nothing wrong with being stuck in the mud." No, you fully recognize now what you want to get out of it. You then narrow your attention down to the present moment without mentally labeling it in any way. This means that there is no judgment of the now. Therefore, there is no resistance, no emotional negativity. You accept the illness. You accept the instance of this moment. Then you take action to do all you can get out of the mud. Such action I call positive action. It is far more effective than negative action, which arises out of anger, despair, or frustration. Until you achieve the desired result, you can continue the practice surrender by refraining to the label of the now. Let me give you visual analogy to illustrate the point of the making. You're walking along a path at night surrounded by thick fog, but you have a powerful flashlight that cuts through the fog and creates a narrow, clear space in front of you. The fog is your life situation, which includes past and future. The flashlight is your conscious presence. The clear space is the now. Non-surrender hardens your physical, psychological form, the shell of the ego, and so creates a strong sense of separatedness. The world around you people may practically come in to perceive as threatening. Unconscious compulsion to destroy others through judgment arises, as does the need of complete and dominant. Even nature becomes your enemy, and your perceptions and interpretations governed by fear. The mental disease that we call paranoia is only slightly more acute form of normal by being dysfunctional state of consciousness. Not only your psychological form, but also your physical form, your body, becomes hard and rigid through resistance. Tension arises in different parts of your body, and the body of the whole contracts. The free flow of energy through the body, which is an essential part of a healthy functioning, it is greatly restricted. Bodywork and certain forms of physical therapy can be helpful by restoring this flow, but unless you practice surrender in every day of your life, those things can give temporary symptom relief, since the cause of resistance pattern does not get dissolved. There is something within you that remains unaffected by the transient circumstances to make up the following of your life situation, and only through surrender do you have access to it. It is your life, your very being, which exists internally in the timeless realm of the present. Finding this life is the only thing you needed that Jesus talked about. If you find your life situation unsatisfactory or even intolerable, it is only by surrendering first that you can take a break of unconscious resistance pattern that perpetuates that situation.
Take the next right onto Montana
Surrender is perfectly compatible with taking action. Initiating change. And
continue on Montana 59 North for 74 miles.
Or achieving goals. But in the surrender state of a totally different energy, a different quality flows with what you're doing. Surrender reconnects with you of source energy of being. Your doing is infused with being. It becomes more of that. And infused with being. It becomes a joyful celebration of life energy, that quality of your consciousness, and therefore the quality of whatever you are doing or creating is intensely immeasurable. The results will then look after themselves and reflect the quality we should do this surrender action. It is not the work known as for the thousands of years as more humans awaken. The word work is going to disappear from the vocabulary, and perhaps a world will be created to replace it. It is the quality of your consciousness of this moment that is being determinant of what kind of future that you will experience. So the surrender is the most important thing that you could do. They could do to bring about positive change. Any action you take is secondary. No truly positive action can arise out of the unsurrendered state of consciousness. I can see that I am in a situation that is unpleasant or unsatisfactory, and I completely accept the moment as it is. There will be no suffering or unhappiness. I will risen above it, but I'm still quite see where the energy or motivation for taking the action and bringing about change would come from is a certain amount of dissatisfaction. In the state of surrender, you can very clearly see what needs to be done and take action, doing one thing at a time and focusing on one thing at a time. Learn from nature, see how's everything go from accomplishment, how miracle of life unfolds without dissatisfaction or unhappiness. That's why Jesus said, "Look at the lilies and how they grow. They neither toil nor spin." If your overall situation is unsatisfactory or unpleasant, separate out this instant and surrender what is. The flashlight cutting through the fog, your state of consciousness then ceases to be controlled by external conditions. You are no longer coming from a reaction and resistance. Then look at the species of the situation. Ask yourself, is there anything that I could do to change the situation, improve it, or remove myself from it? Or if you take any appropriate action, focus on the 100 things that you will or may have due to the future time of the one thing that you could do now. This doesn't mean that you should not do any planning. It may well that planning is one of the things that you could do now. But make sure that you do not run mental movies. Project yourself into future so you lose the now. Any action you may not bear fruit immediately until it does not resist what is. If there is no action to take, you cannot remove yourself from the situation either. Then use the situation to make it go more deeply into surrender. More deeply into the now, more deeply into the being. When you enter the timeless dimension of the present, change often comes from these very strange ways, without the need for a great deal of doing on your part. Life becomes helpful and cooperative in them. If inner factors such as fear, guilt, or inertia preventing you from taking action, they will dissolve into the light of your conscious presence. Do not confuse surrender with an attitude of, I cannot be bothered anymore, or I do not care anymore. If you look at it closely, you will find that such attitude is tainted with negativity in the form of hidden resentment, and so is not surrendered to at all by mass resistance. As you surrender, direct your attention inward to check if there is any trace of resistance left inside of you. Be very alert when you do so. Otherwise, a pocket of resistance may continue to hide in some darker corner in form of thought or an acknowledged emotion. From the mind energy to spiritual energy. Letting go of resistance is easier said than done. I still don't see clearly how to let go. If you say it by surrendering, the question remains how. Start by acknowledging that there is resistance. Be there when it happens. When resistance arises, observe how your mind creates it, how to label a situation, yourself, and others. Look at the thought process involved. Feel the energy of emotion. By witnessing the resistance, you will see that it serves no purpose. By focusing all your attention of the now, the conscious resistance is made conscious, and that is the end of it. You cannot be conscious and unhappy. Conscious and in negativity. Negativity, unhappiness, and suffering, or in whatever form it means, that there is resistance, and resistance is always unconscious. Surely I can be conscious of my unhappy feelings. Why would I choose unhappiness? If you're not choosing, how did it arise? What is the purpose? Who is keeping it alive? You should say who are unconscious of your unhappy feelings. But the truth is that you are identified with them and keep process alive through compulsive thinking, all the unconsciousness. If you were conscious, that is to say, totally present in the now, all negativity would dissolve almost instantly. It could not survive in your presence. It can only survive in your absence. Even the pain body cannot survive for long in your presence. You keep your unhappiness alive by giving it time. That is its lifeblood. Move time through instant presence, moments, awareness, and it dies. But you do not want it to die. Have you truly had enough? Who would you be without it? Until you practice surrender, the spiritual dimension in something you read about, talk about, got excited about, write books about, think about it, believe in it, or you don't, as case it may be. It makes no difference. Not until you surrender does it become a living reality in your life. When you do, the energy that you emanate, and which then runs your life as much a higher vibrational frequency than the mind energy that still runs our world. The energy that created the existing social, political, and economic structures of our civilization, and which also continuously perpetuates itself through the educational systems and the media. Through surrender, spiritual energy comes into this world. It creates no suffering for yourself or other humans or other life form on the planet. Unlike mind energy, it does not pollute the earth, and it does not subject to the law of polarities, which dictates that nothing can exist without the opposite. But there is to be no good without bad. Those who run in their mind energy, which is still the vast majority of Earth's population, remain unaware of the existence of spiritual energy as it belongs to a different order of reality and will not create a different world. When a sufficient member of the humans are enter the surrendered state and so become totally free from negativity. If the Earth is to survive, this will be the energy of those who inhabit it. Jesus referred to the energy that will be made in famous prophetic statement of this in the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the gentle, they shall have the earth of their possession. It is a silent instance that intense presence that dissolves unconscious patterns of the mind. They may have still remained active for a while, but they still won't run for your life anymore. The external conditions that were being resisted and also tend to shift or dissolve quickly through surrender. It is a powerful transformer of situations and people. If conditions do not shift immediately, your acceptance of it now enables you to rise them above. Either way, you are free. Okay, everyone, I'll finish part 2 of chapter 10 next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.